The last stage of the writing process is the rewriting stage, where you correct your paper after you write your rough draft. And so there are two stages in the rewriting process. You have revision, where you check for essay structure, and then you have proofreading and editing, where you check for grammar errors. And you always check for essay structure first to make sure your essay structure is correct before you check for the grammar mistakes. So revising is rarely a one-step process. Global matters. Thesis, purpose, organization, content, and overall strategy generally receive attention first because global revisions involve bigger changes, including rewrites of paragraphs or whole sections of a paper. Editing, on the other hand, improvements in sentence structure, word choice, grammar, punctuation, and mechanics usually come later. Writing multiple drafts allows you to write in stages and strengthen your paper through both revising and editing. To revise is to re-see, and the comments you receive from your reviewers, instructors, peers, and Writing Center tutors will help you re-see your draft from your reader's point of view. When you ask readers for their comments, revision becomes a social experience, connecting you with the suggestions and insights of readers who help you shape your word in progress. Feedback gives you perspective on what's working and not working in your draft and keeps the expectations of your readers in mind. Asking simple questions such as, "Do you understand my main idea? Is my draft organized?" will help you see your draft through readers' eyes. Peer review gives you the benefit of real readers and an opportunity to see your draft through their eyes. When peers, classmates, and fellow students read your work, they offer feedback, pointing out where they are intrigued or confused. They offer their insights and suggestions, answer your questions, and help you strengthen your draft. The following guidelines will help you learn from your reviewers' comments and revise successfully. Be active. Help reviewers understand your purpose for writing and provide background about why you chose your topic and why it matters to you and what you hope to accomplish in your draft. Tell reviewers your specific concerns so they can provide focused feedback. Listen with an open mind. After you've worked hard on a draft, you might be surprised to hear reviewers tell you it still needs more development. Don't take criticism personally. Your readers are responding to your essay, not to you. If comments show that a reviewer doesn't understand what you're trying to do, don't be defensive. Instead, consider why your reader is confused and figure out how to clarify your point. Responding to readers' objections instead of dismissing them may strengthen your ideas and make your essay more persuasive. Taking feedback seriously will make you a stronger writer. Weigh feedback carefully. As you begin revising, you may find yourself sorting through suggestions from many people, including instructors, tutors, and peer reviewers. Sometimes these readers will agree, but often their advice will differ. Your reviewers will probably make more suggestions than you can use, so be strategic. Sort through all the comments you receive with your original goals in mind and focus on global concerns first. Otherwise, you'll be facing the impossible task of trying to incorporate everyone's advice. Keep a revision and editing log. Make a clear and simple list of the global and sentence level concerns that keeps coming up in most of your reviewers' comments. That list can serve as a starting point each time you review a paper to help you learn about your strengths and weaknesses as a writer. Peer review allows you to read the work of your classmates and to learn from one another. As you offer advice about how to strengthen a peer's thesis or how to use a visual to convey concise information, you are thinking about the purpose of a thesis and the role of visuals. When you propose a strategy for focusing an introduction or for anticipating a counter-argument, you not only help your classmate, but also benefit from the process of thinking strategically about revision. As a peer reviewer, your work is to engage with a writer as a reader. It isn't your job to rewrite, correct, or proofread the work of your peers. It is your job, though, to offer thoughtful, encouraging comments to show others what they're doing well and how they might build on their strengths. The following excerpt from an online peer review session shows a peer reviewer offering constructive comments. Juan, peer reviewer. Rachel, your essay makes a great point that credit card companies often hook students on a cycle of spending, but it sounds as if you're blaming students for their spending habits and credit card companies for their deceptive actions. Is this what you want to say? Rachel, writer. No, I want to keep the focus on the credit card companies. I didn't realize I was blaming students. What should I change? Juan, the reviewer. In paragraphs 3 and 4, you group all students together as if all students have the same bad spending habits. If students are your audience, you'll be insulting them. What reader is motivated to read something that's alienating? What is your purpose for writing this draft? Rachel, writer. Well, it's true that students don't always have good spending habits, but I don't want to blame students. My purpose is to call students to action about the dangers of credit card debt. Any suggestions for narrowing the focus? Juan, the reviewer. Most students know about the dangers of credit card debt, but they might not know about specific deceptive practices companies use to lure them. Maybe ask yourself what would surprise your audience about these practices. Rachel, comment. Juan, that's a good idea. I'll try it. And so here, your peer reviewer restates the writer's main point and asks a question to help her clarify her ideas. Writers takes comment seriously and asks the reviewer for specific suggestions. The peer reviewer points to specific places in the draft and asks questions to help the writer focus on audience and purpose. The writer is actively engaged with the peer reviewer's comments and doesn't take the criticism personally. So don't take the peer reviewer's comments personally. Write helpful peer review comments. View yourself as a coach, not a judge. Think of yourself as asking questions about proposing possibilities, not dictating solutions. Help the writer identify the strengths and limitations of a draft. Try phrasing comments this way. Have you thought about? Or can you help a reader understand this point? Pay attention to global issues first. Focus on the big picture, purpose, thesis, organization, and content, before sentence structure, word choice, and grammar. Restate the writer's main idea. As a reader, you can help the writer see whether he or she is expressing points clearly. Can you follow the writer's train of thought? Restate the writer's thesis and main ideas to check your understanding. Be specific. Point to specific places in a draft and show your classmate how, why, and where a draft is effective or confusing. Instead of saying, I like your draft, say exactly what you like. You use a surprising statistic in your introduction and it really hooks me as a reader. Or instead of offering a generality such as, your draft doesn't offer much support, give a specific suggestion. Try putting this data from paragraph 3 into a graph. Strategies for revising with comments. Often the comments you'll receive are written as shorthand commands. Be specific or ask questions. What is your main point? Such comments don't immediately show you how to revise, but they do identify where revision might improve your draft. Ask reviewers to explain their comments if you don't understand them. The following sample comments and revision strategies will help you think about how to apply feedback to your own writing. Understanding the comment. When readers point out that your introduction needs to be focused, the comment often signals that the beginning sentences of your essay are vague, are unconnected to the rest of your essay, and don't establish your purpose for writing. Strategies for revising. Reread your introduction and ask questions. Are the sentences leading to your thesis specific enough to engage readers and communicate your purpose? Do these sentences lead logically to your thesis? Do they spark your readers' curiosity and offer them a reason to continue reading? Try engaging readers with a hook. In your introduction, a question, quotation, a vivid example, or a surprising statistic. Consider opposing viewpoints. When readers suggest that you consider opposing viewpoints, the comment often signals that you need to recognize and respond to possible objections to your argument. Strategies for revising. Read more to learn about the debates surrounding the topic. Understand the various sides of your issue so you can anticipate and counter objections to your argument. Be open-minded. Although it might seem illogical to introduce opposing arguments, you'll show your knowledge of the topic by recognizing that not everyone draws the same conclusions or holds the same point of view. Introduce and counter objections with phrases like, "Some readers might point out that," or "Critics of this view argue that." The comment. Understanding the comment. When readers say that you need to be specific, the comment often signals that you could strengthen your writing with additional details. Strategies for revising. Reread your topic sentence to understand the focus of the paragraph. Ask questions. Does the paragraph contain claims that need support? Have you provided evidence, specific examples, vivid details and illustrations, statistics and facts to help readers understand your ideas and find them persuasive? Remember that details and examples don't speak for themselves. You will need to show readers how evidence supports your claims. Cite your sources. When readers point out that you need to cite your sources, the comment often signals that you need to write in-text citations to give proper credit and to the contribution of others. Reread your sentence and ask questions. Have you properly acknowledged all contributions, words, ideas, facts, or visuals that you use as evidence? Have you given credit to the sources you quote, summarize, or paraphrase? Have you made it clear to readers how to locate each source if they want to consult it? Ask your instructor which documentation style you are required to use. Revise by including an in-text citation for any words, ideas, facts, or visuals that you use as evidence, and by including quotation marks around any language borrowed word for word from a source. Highlights of one's student peer review process. Student writer Michelle Nguyen wrote a draft in response to an assignment that asked her to write a brief essay about how one or more specific experiences with writing shaped her as a writer. Here are questions Nguyen gave her peer reviewers before they read her draft. Alex, Brian, and Samira, thanks for reading my draft. Here are 3 questions I have about my draft. Is my focus clear? Is there anything that confuses you? What specifically should I cut or add to strengthen my draft? Rough draft with peer review comments. You might want to add a title to focus readers. I really like your introduction. It's so vivid. Think about adding a photo so readers can relate. What does Hanoi look like? You have great details here to set the scene in Hanoi, but why does it matter that you didn't have an entertainment device? Maybe choose the most interesting among all these details. After reading her draft and considering the feedback from her classmates, Nguyen realized that she had chosen a good direction, but that she hadn't focused her draft to meet the expectations of the assignment. Her classmates offered her valuable suggestions about adding a photograph of her Hanoi neighborhood and clarifying her main ideas. With her classmates' specific questions and suggestions in mind, and their encouragement, Nguyen developed some goals for revising. Nguyen's revision goals. Add a title. Revise introduction to set the scene more dramatically. Use a photo. Make the story my story, not the man's story. Answer Samira's question, what did the man see in me and I in him? Delete extra material about the old man. Answer Brian's question, what is my main idea? Follow Brian's suggestion about the connection between wordlessness and worldliness. Figure out what main idea I'm trying to communicate and see if there is a possible idea in various contrasts. The surprise was finding writing in silence, not in the noisy exchange of voices in my neighborhood. Approach global revision in cycles. Revision is more effective when you approach it in cycles rather than attempting to change everything all at once. Keep in mind these 4 common cycles of global revision: engaging the audience, sharpening the focus, improving the organization, and strengthening the content. For a global revision checklist, see below. Sometimes a rough draft needs an overhaul because it is directed at no particular audience. A good question to ask yourself and your reviewers. Sometimes a rough draft needs an overhaul because it is directed at no particular audience. A good question to ask yourself and your reviewers is the toughest question a reader. Sometimes a rough draft needs an overhaul because it is directed at no particular audience. A good question to ask yourself and your reviewers is the toughest question a reader might ask. So what? If your draft can't pass the so what test, you may need to rethink your entire approach. Sharpening the focus. A clearly focused draft fixes readers' attention on one central idea and does not stray from that idea. You can sharpen the focus of a draft by clarifying the introduction, especially the thesis, and by deleting any text that is off the point. Improving the organization. A draft is well organized when its major divisions are logical and easy to follow. To improve the organization of your draft, you may need to take one or more of the following actions: adding or sharpening topic sentences, moving blocks of text, and inserting headings. In reviewing the content of a draft, first consider whether your argument is sound. Second, consider whether you should add or delete any text, sentences, or paragraphs. If your purpose is to argue a point, consider how persuasively you have supported your point to an intelligent audience. If your purpose is to inform, be sure that you have presented your ideas clearly and with enough detail to meet your readers' expectations. So here is a checklist for global revision. Purpose and audience. Does the draft address a question, a problem, or an issue that readers care about? Is the draft appropriate for its audience? Does it address the audience's knowledge of and attitudes toward the subject? Is the thesis clear? Is it prominently placed? Does the thesis answer a reader "so what" question? If the draft has no thesis, do you have a good reason for omitting one? Organization and paragraphing. Is each paragraph unified around a main point? Does each paragraph support the thesis? Have you provided enough organizational cues for readers? Have you presented ideas in a logical order? Is the supporting material relevant and persuasive? Which ideas need further development? Are the parts proportioned sensibly? What should you delete? Is the dominant point of view first, second, or third person? So after you look over the global part of your essay and you realize that your essay structure is solid, then the very last step is to check for sentence structure and grammar errors and APA errors. So when you revise sentence, you focus on clarity and effectiveness. When you edit, you check for correctness. Sentences that are wordy, vague, or rambling may distract readers and make it hard for readers to focus on your purpose or grasp your ideas. Read each sentence slowly to determine if it is as specific and clear as possible. You might find it helpful to read your work aloud and trust your ears to detect awkwardness, wordiness, or jarring repetition. Improve your writing with an editing log. An important aspect of becoming a college writer is learning how to identify the grammar, punctuation, and spelling errors that you make frequently. You can use an editing log to keep a list of your common errors, anticipate error patterns, and learn the rules needed to correct the errors. Proofreading is a special kind of reading, a slow and methodical search for misspellings, typographical errors, and missing words or word endings. Such errors can be difficult to spot in your own work because you may read what you intended to write, not what is actually on the page. So in order to fight this tendency, try one or more of the following tips. Remove distractions and allow yourself 10 to 15 minutes of pure concentration without your cell phone. Proofread out loud, articulating each word as it is actually written. Proofread your sentences in reverse order. Proofread hard copy pages. Mistakes can be difficult to catch on screen. Don't rely too heavily on spell checkers and grammar checkers. Before automatically accepting their changes, consider accuracy and appropriateness. Ask someone to proofread your paper for you. And so here you have more about revision.